Well, it finally arrived. The Demacian season is here, and with it, we got a new dev update. Now, interestingly enough, even though this is a 16-minute long video, we've actually heard the vast majority of the news already. Specifically, some of the news was already teased during Worlds, but also what was supposed to be the big drop of news at the end of this dev update had to be released early in December because of some questionable news reports who leaked stuff. For context, there Riot talked about what they will be doing in 2027. And oh boy, will that be a great year. But thankfully Riot didn't show all of their cards just yet. And so, we still get to learn about some great new things heading to League of Legends. And so, let's get on it. As always, the dev update starts with Babro and Meddler. And they actually start a video in front of the Annie statue. And none of it is framed from behind, I'm disappointed. Anyway, here they introduced the Demacian season as the Season 1 of 2026. No big surprises here. And immediately after that, as they transition into the office, they already start teasing stuff. And so here on the wall we can see some teased skins. Specifically the Lunar Rebel Ziggs and Ashe, as well as new Battle Academia Samira. Also there's a quick tease for some of the new items, which yes, those should be now live. After which we get to the gameplay updates. Once again, we've actually heard about most of these changes because Riot teased them during Worlds. And so, just very quickly, minions will now be spawning faster and they will also be spawning more frequently in the late game, meaning it's gonna be a jolly good time for top laners who are split pushing. There is the new Phalite system happening, which are small places around the jungle where if you place a ward there, it's gonna reveal a massive chunk of the Summoner's Rift. This is supposed to be almost like a tutorial for where to ward, except if you place the ward there, you don't need wards anymore. Then, of course, as we mentioned, there are 9 new and returning items. And there is the new Crystalline Overgrowth, which gives you an extra chunk of gold and XP if you hit a turret when it's crystallized. Then, to make objectives more streamlined, Atakan is gone. Hey, he was canonically destroyed. And Baron and Dragons will now be stronger. This should make them feel more like boss fights, and maybe it's reflecting on the cinematic, I don't know. Anyway, then we get to the lane quests. Once again, all of these were teased before, but now, since this system is now live, we know what these quests actually are. Now, funnily enough, I wanted to learn about these quests, and so I clicked on the link at the devlog, and I realized that link brings you to the posts from December. In fact, none of those tell you anything about the quests. So good old community-driven wiki goes for the rescue. And so, top lane gets a bunch of points for killing minions, destroying turrets, killing enemies, being a top laner essentially, and at 1200 points you complete the quest. As a reward, you get a third new teleport summoner spell, you get passive XP increase, and your level cap is now gonna be 20. As a jungler, you get points for clearing camps and feeding your pet. At 35 clears, you get a new smite, as well as a bunch of gold and XP from jungle camps. Though there is also a little bit of extra movement speed. Mid laners get the same point system as top laners, except they also get a passive where they get increased damage based on how many points they have. And their reward are tier 3 boots and faster recall. Bot lane also gets the same point system where you just get points for being in the lane doing stuff. And as a reward, they get a bunch of gold, as well as a 7th item slot. Finally, supports get points for destroying turrets and killing enemies and standing nearby as minions are last hit by someone else. As a reward, they upgrade their support item and they get an extra slot for control wards, with the wards also being cheaper for them. So overall, these quests should really underline the fantasy of playing a specific role. And yes, most of the lanes do get reduced XP if they leave their lane in the early game. So no cheesing allowed here. Next, Pabro goes back into focusing on the theme of Demacia. As we know, everything in this season should be focusing on it. Of course, Summoner's Rift will also be teasing it, and most importantly, there is also Shyvana. Yes, the Shyvana ASU actually looks really good. I have nothing bad to really point out here. This is just good old Shyvana that is fleshed out. And her dragon form is an actual dragon now. Interestingly enough though, some of you might have seen the original leaks. And if you compare the two images, you'll see that her face is now a lot prettier. Now, Meddler did confirm that this is not because of the feedback they got from the community. In fact, if you go back to the reactions to that leak, you'll see that most people actually liked the older version more. So it is not that people complained that she's ugly and so Riot made her prettier. No, according to Meddler, the new model was already in place while the old one leaked. So Riot didn't do anything, everything was already done. But that also means, maybe people should really start ignoring all the leaks. The leaks did fumble with Zahen, and now they fumbled again with Shyvana. I don't know who's the leaking source, but it's a really bad one. Now, if I really had to point out one thing, yes, it would be the face. I don't think it's that important because realistically in the game you will not see Shyvana's face at all. But I would still give her the Smolder treatment, where they gave Smolder some proper draconic scales on his face to feel like a dragon. I think Riot should do the same thing for Shyvana because in the cinematic that looked really good. And it's just that in the game her face is quite smooth. All you have to do is give her a little bit of the red scales on the cheeks and maybe the nose and she's gonna be perfect. Also, I did notice that detail. Did you see that the sigil on her chest is actually identical to the one that Jarvan had in the cinematic? I appreciate that. But then, on the gameplay side of Shyvana, Meddler confirmed that it should be near identical, but it is still a Mundo level of a VGU, so there are some changes, with the changes being mostly in the details. So if you don't really know what Shyvana does, she should feel similar to what we've had before. But if you are a Shyvana pro, you should pay attention to the details that changed. Though again, the core is the same, so you will build Fury and then you transform into a normal dragon. Also, when it comes to the build, while you can still build her as both a bruiser and a pokey mage, the bruiser side will definitely be prioritized now. Anyway, then the video goes back into the Demacian theme, where once again, yes, there is gonna be the new Summoner's Rift, which has small Demacian themes and details around. There is also the new Demacian victory screen, but more importantly, there will be also new motion comics. So far, these were a massive success for the storytelling, and so I am happy they are back. In fact, on Twitter, which is where League of Legends revealed the whole timeline for the patch, they already teased 2 of these comics. So first, there's gonna be a comic with Yunara. And yes, I've seen some people freak out that it's a Demacian season, why is Yunara the focus? But I love the fact that Riot is still continuing the storyline from the previous seasons. It makes sense for Yunara to come here and to tell King Jarvan that Xin Zhao died. And I really wonder what's gonna be the outcome of that comic. Is LeBlanc gonna be Xin Zhao now? Anyway, the second comic seems to be even heavier than that, because it will be focusing on what we saw in the cinematic, and Garen will have to go to the families of the fallen recruits and tell them that they died. What makes me curious about that one is that those comics will likely lead into the stories of the following seasons. And I have no idea how that transition is gonna happen. Anyway, then they also confirmed a whole new metagame for Demacia. It is called Demacia Rising, and it is a whole city-building game. Here you will learn about the history of Demacia from the very beginning through the eyes of Lux, who is learning about it, and you will build cities, you will recruit champions, and you will go into battles. From these teasers alone, it looks really good, it should be out right now, and I haven't played it yet on purpose because I kinda wanna do it on stream, likely tomorrow. And yes, it was confirmed that this game will get updates as the seasons keep going. On top of which, it is also extremely likely that once the Demacian season is over, the minigame will likely be hosted on the wiki. Because in case you didn't know, you can play every single minigame that was ever put into League right now. There are people who preserved the games, which also includes the Arcane games. Anyway, outside of the Demacian theme, we have another great news heading into League of Legends. Apparently, ARAM Mayhem was a massive success. People loved it so much that Riot will let it stay around a little bit longer. Riot is not gonna take it away just yet. And in fact, it will get a new big update in 26.3, I think. So yes, a big hit from the Game Modes team once again. But then, going away from the fun stuff, Riot is also trialing a new thing in some regions. In the past, they implemented new systems that deal with toxicity and griefing, and from the reactions to the bans, so far the system has been very successful. But there is one thing Riot hasn't tackled just yet, and that is taking entire lobbies as a hostage. Yes, we've all been there. There is the one guy who says that he will totally feed if he doesn't get the champion that he wants, which takes everyone into a weird situation where either everyone is risking a loss or someone has to dodge. Well, now Riot is testing a new system where they can terminate entire lobbies. Meaning that if the system finds out that there is someone malicious in a lobby, everything gets reset and nothing happens, and that one person gets punished. Now obviously Riot didn't tell us how the system works, because if people knew, they would abuse it. But it should be a combination of things, which also includes you simply typing something stupid in the chat. If you tell everyone you will troll and you will feed, the system will look at it and say, hey, he's likely gonna do that. And so don't take your sarcasm into ranked games. Also, even if you don't say anything and you just pick weird summoner spells on a champion you've never played before, the system will know. With that said, off-meta picks are still taken into account, so it should be fine. Of course, this is also underlined by the fact that you can now report people directly in the lobby, and so far, Medlo confirmed that the accuracy of these bans were pretty good. But that finally takes us back into the good stuff, which is skins, I think. So Helia and 100-piece nuggets are back, and they confirmed that yes, we will get both a mix of Demacian and non-Demacian skins now. So first, as was shown before, Battle Academia is back, and there will be new skins for Briar and Samira. Then there is a new take on the mecha skins, with them being more anime focused. These will get a new skin for Ornn and Galio. The Galio is a legendary skin and people are really freaking out about the features. Because yes, there is a Lux pilot inside the Galio. It looks amazing. Then, because Lunar Revel is gonna be back, they are trying something slightly new, but it's also gonna be very Lunar Revel skin-like. But yes, there should be new skins for the ones that we saw before, which again is Ziggs and Ashe, but there is also Caitlyn and Seraphine. Lastly, they also teased a new skin line called Petals of Spring. These are new skins that were made in collaboration with Wild Rift, and you can tell Wild Rift has a lot of similar skin lines because this kind of a skin line is very popular in China. And so be ready for a new spring-themed skin for champions such as Yasuo or Lilia. Then they also confirmed there will be new stuff for April Fools. And once again, because last year it was a big success, there is not gonna be just one theme, and rather it's gonna be just fun ideas for champions, such as the pug riding Sejuani. After this, they teased that the second half of Demacia is gonna be darker, which immediately made me think demons, such as a Fiddlesticks, who is somewhere in Demacia. There is also gonna be a brand new take on the Road Warrior skin line, which is gonna be even more Mad Maxy than before, after which they talk about prestige skins. So, Morgana should be out right now. And the two champions to get a prestige skin after this should be Sona, because yes, Sona was in the files before, but also Mordekaiser, which is slightly surprising, because he did get a chonky skin last year. After this, there will also be a mythic variant for Aurelian Soul, which kinda looks fine from the image, but also Master Yi. And finally, there are also news on Exalted skins. As we've known for a while, the new one is gonna be for Viego, and it is called Revenant Rain. Now, interestingly enough, this is the first Exalted skin that is not based on lore, which I think is fine. If you really need to shoehorn it in, it just doesn't work. But more importantly, the trailer for the skin is out, and for the first time, the reception of the skin is kinda good. Now don't get me wrong, it is still a gacha skin that is ridiculously expensive. But on the quality side specifically, people like this one. This is the moment we've all been afraid of. Look, the skin is actually on a similar level to something like the ultimate skin for Lux. Except again, it is way more expensive. And that is because all the spell effects and even the blade is gonna change based on what class you possessed with your passive. And right now, I think there is about 8 different forms. So against all odds, the quality is back. And the theme is something that people like. So now, I just really wanna wait for the reception of the skin once it is out. Because who knows, maybe there is a turn happening. Anyway, then it was confirmed that the new Victoria skin is gonna be Braum. And that is it for skins, so next we go into esports. I don't know much about esports. And so very quickly, the events will be taken into Brazil and Korea. There is gonna be a new system where teams will be able to choose what side they wanna start on, as well as who's gonna be picking first. So it's not gonna be tied to the sides anymore. Also, it was confirmed that Halls of Legends will be back, because of course it will. There should be an iconic player getting a skin once again. And that's it. So then we get to the last note of this video, which is the part we've seen before because of the leaks. This is the thing that Riot Panic released because of the news report. And so yes, while Riot doesn't plan on making League of Legends 2, the team confirmed that they are getting as close to League of Legends 2 as possible. But they are doing it through really big updates. If you'd like to see the details on that, we made a whole separate video about this report. And so in short, yes, League of Legends will get a new in-game client similar to what 2xKO or Valorant have. There should be a brand new player experience because after Arcane people tried to play League and everyone ran away. There should be a big overhaul of Summoner's Rift happening. And there should be a massive update to your pre-game choices, which includes something like runes. And finally, yes, it was confirmed that the vast majority of the League of Legends team is now working on those massive changes, which are heading to League sometime in 2027. So it is still gonna be a year from now. And that is it for this good old dev video. Honestly, it is not as big as it likely should have been, because once again, we've seen a lot of these news before, partially because Riot wanted to tease some stuff during Worlds, but also because some news reporters are not great. And so imagine if the news about the League of Legends 2 dropped now. People would have gone wild. But hey, that is the case with all leaks that happen all the time, and that makes me surprised about one thing. How is it possible the new champion hasn't leaked even in the slightest bit? We still have no idea who that's gonna be, and at this point I'm kinda doubting Cythria.